The controversial death of Lisa Left Eye Lopes. What really happened? The controversial death of Lisa Left Eye Lopes. More than 2 decades ago, 25th of April 2002, Lopes and a group of R&B members sought to head out on a trip to organize charity work at La Ceiba, Honduras. But little did they know this was the start of an unbridled terror that would leave an indelible mark in the hearts of millions. What should have been much of a day of fun and excitement was quickly short-lived, as fun soon turned into a nightmare for the group of 7 passengers, including Lopez's sister, Rayna. You see, this story is filled with a batch of evidence that adds a ton of twists that have even left the investigators grappling with the why behind it all. This is the tragedy, and equally creepy in details on how the controversial death of Lisa Left Eye Lopes unfolded. Chapter 1. Lisa Lopes. Not many in this generation may know who Lisa the person was, and how she was more than just a tragic tale of a superstar's life cut short. Born on the 27th of May 1971 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lisa Nicole Lopes, popularly known by the name Left Eye, already had troubling challenges lurking and staring up at her face to face during the moments of her childhood. You see, Lisa's childhood was impossible to describe as idyllic as you may think. For context, 30-year-old Lisa had struggled to deal with a father who was not only strict, but all the more equally domineering. In fact, a chronic drunk who sought to want into alcohol to fuel his pleasure and uneasiness in the truest sense of the word. This long-lived, tumultuous situation had been the casualty all along for Lisa to form a stable and picturesque relationship with her father. As she grew up, the early years, meant to be heartwarming for Lisa, soon turned into an unnerving period that, unbeknownst to her, would haunt her till the last. One could even think of this as a circumstance that got Lisa Lopes deeply impacted during her development as a person, not only as an artist as well. But despite this, one thing always stood out from Lisa. It first of all started when Lisa's talent earned her young self invitations to present at local church events, along with her brother, charmingly acting as a duo. Like I said earlier, her musical talent was one you could see as exceptional, which leads us to where fate would have it. Chapter 2. The iconic trio. You see, at just 19, Lisa got into an R&B hip-hop girls group in Atlanta, where fate made her come across 2 of the 3 girls who successfully auditioned for the group. Tion Watkins, Lisa Lopes, and Crystal Jones then formed the R&B sensation Second Nature, later rebranded to the popularly known TLC, which stemmed from the first letters of their names. It's worth knowing that the driving force behind the iconic trio was Lisa Left Eye Lopes, which she also claimed before the heartbreaking fatal disaster that made a woman who burned brightly leave the world too soon. On the other hand, Crystal Jones later left the world-renowned group TLC over a long-existing dispute with her partners, and when Jones left the group, Rosonda Thomas, later nicknamed by Lopes as Chili, stepped in to replace a founding member, Jones. The year was 1991, and this was just the beginning of the birth of a force to be reckoned with in the music space at the time. I mean, think of chart-topping hits to groundbreaking releases. The group's rise to stardom couldn't just be compared, because Lisa wasn't just any member of TLC, she was special. Lisa was the left eye of the group, a name which she stuck onto after Michael Bivins of New Edition, who once said to her, "It's your left eye, it radiates beauty." To Lisa, this made her embrace their unique identity. And as many may know till today, she'd often wear a condom over her left lens to put the preaching of safe sex during her time. To sum it up, she had this eclectic style and unapologetic personality that made her a standout in the group, helping TLC become one of the most influential female music acts of all time. 25th of February, 1992. Their albums, Ooh, on the TLC tip, was released to the world by LaFace, Arista Records, and sold millions. Not only that, the albums like Crazy Sexy Cool, which sold over 23 million copies worldwide, stand alone at a staggering 1/3 of the total copies they had ever sold. This number alone earned them the flowers they deserved. The girls' group was on fire. However, Lisa's career was blooming, but her personal life was troubling. We could further call this an inner demon she battled with that had slowly preyed on her piece after piece. Underneath the hood of the glittering and glooming success was a life far from perfect. Yes, she wanted out, but it felt as though the tumultuous, abusive relationship with her father was aimed at getting the best of her. In 1994, these daddy issues had rather crawled into Lisa's life, getting the best of her once again. This time, it made headlines around her. Not for music though, as investigations revealed that she had set fire to the home she shared with NFL player Andre Rison. Apparently, the affair she had maintained with the NFL star was insanely toxic, and part of it was that sources close to her claimed she maintained a clandestine affair with Tupac at the time. Allegedly, Lisa had maintained this love triangle with both Tupac and Rison. But listen to this. What would be interesting about this case were parts of the stories that just didn't add up, which even makes this eerily more concerning. June 9th, 1994. First of all, it was an act of retaliation because she and Rison had a really heated argument over infidelity reasons, which got physical, leaving visible bruises on her face. Second, at the time, she did claim she was unaware of what came over her when throwing Rison's tennis shoes into a bathtub and lighting them on fire. And yes, sadly, beyond her control, the blaze spread out so far to destroy the $1.3 million mansion both lived in. She was probably not thinking, or because she was super angry at the time. However, Lisa paid the summed-up consequences with a $10,000 fine when she was charged with first-degree arson because it wasn't the first time she had tried to set the whole house on fire. So it seemed at that point that the punishment due to the incident had stolen the best she could offer, and that was the one thing she feared all along. What haunted her up to these moments, and what was the big fear she knew would come knocking at her doors? Well, let me explain. In order to thrive musically, she just had to maintain the facade of a bold but equally unbothered mantra. But slowly and equally poisonously, these personal struggles could only hide behind closed doors for so long, but not forever. In 1999, in an interview with Vibe magazine, Lisa Lopes confessed to feeling detached from the direction TLC was headed. At the time, she had been struggling with the big guns at the La Face over unfair treatment of the royalties herself, Tion, and Rosanda believed they deserved. But shortly afterwards, her struggles prevailed, thereby resulting in alcoholism, which combined with friction within the group pushed her to seek solace in a solo. The result was the widely known Supernova, an album that reflected her personal growth and pain, with tracks like A New Star Is Born dedicated to her late father. Yet despite her efforts to give the new path a try, the demons of her past seemed to follow her, and she did give in though. Chapter 3. The Incident in Honduras. Now listen, in 2002, Lisa embarked on a journey to Honduras, seeking spiritual clarity. What started as a retreat with 12 people, including Lisa's sister, soon turned into a series of unfortunate events. But before this, tragedy struck when Lisa's personal assistant, Stephanie Patterson, accidentally hit and killed a 10-year-old Honduran boy while driving a rented Mitsubishi minibus intended for a trip by Lisa's crew. It was just 9 p.m., April 6, 2002. The boy who suffered this disaster ironically goes by the name Baron Fuentes Lopez. Dark at night and difficult to see pedestrians passing by, the boy was walking by the road, and the information we have is that the boy walked directly in the front path of the bus. Stephanie, who had tightly gripped the wheels in the late night unknown to her, had just hit a 10-year-old boy accidentally, slamming on the brakes hard and jumping out of the bus to realize what just unfolded. As for Lisa, she already battled paranoia enough to prove her belief that she was in a fight with a ghost that had haunted her. She couldn't just describe it. Well, on that night, Lisa was on the bus, and at the thud of the sickening impact of the hit, Lisa was devastated, rushing to his side, holding his head in her arms as he lay dying. It was horrific, even to the extent that guilt and grief had Lisa under immense strain. Although she did offer for his hospital bills and funeral expenses $3,700 at the beginning of the incident, with an additional $925 after the boy's parents had laid him to be buried, though they didn't press legal charges against the assistant. To them, they felt it could just have been anyone. But for Lisa, the grief hadn't left. More to this was the feeling of an eerie connection to the boy, as they shared the same last name, Lopez. The ghost she believed had haunted her took the boy as to her instead. She did confide this during her video documentaries made from the trip. Then just 3 weeks later, before her 31st birthday on May 27th, Lisa's life would come to a sudden, tragic end. Some would report she saw this all along, but that ghost she kept feeling was none other than death. Chapter 4: The Tragic Accident of Lisa Lopes. April 25, 2002. Driving a rented 7-seater vehicle in Montero in Ceiba, Honduras. For context, Lisa had gone to Honduras on the 30th to get away from her busy celebrity lifestyle, so to speak, and reconnect with nature. Of the crew who also came along on the trip were 3 members of the rhythm and blues group Egypt, her sister Rayna Raindrop Lopes, and the cameraman who sat next to Lisa in front of the passenger seat. This footage was the recording of the trip, which was supposed to be used as part of footage that will be released of Lisa's documentary at the time. With so many people in the vehicle at a time, it was possible the 30-year-old couldn't focus effectively behind the steering wheel, though reports proposed Lisa had a seatbelt on her throughout the trip. As you can see here, Lisa was not even wearing a seatbelt at the time of the accident, which is contrary to the claims the initial reports revealed after her death. Yet somehow the clips were fairly mundane, but the footage showed Lisa holding a red squared Coca-Cola can in her right hand while she held onto the steering wheel with her left. The can was then passed to one of the passengers behind her. If you take a closer look, you'll find 2 men sitting behind the ladies also in the car, and you'd see what happened next after came in at an instant. Lisa, who had tried to swerve to the right to overtake a slowly moving truck in front of the vehicle, was unaware of a blind spot headed in front of the vehicle. As she overtook the truck, she was met with instant panic as another vehicle was approaching their vehicle head-on at a velocity higher than what they drove on. And so with less time to react, Lisa didn't know what to do, and the 30-year-old then tried to swerve back to the left behind the truck again, but instead lost control of the vehicle and headed off track into the woods. As this happened, the vehicle flipped multiple times down just after hitting 2 trees. At first, Lisa and several others were ejected from the vehicle, and she died instantly from severe head and neck trauma, multiple lacerations and internal injuries as she fell off when the car rolled over into the ditch. The undeniable star never had the chance to surpass 30 years of age, and her life was tragically cut short in 2002. The camera captured the final moments of her life, adding a surreal layer to the already tragic events. All along, the trauma brewing from the days of growing young Lisa up to her adulthood were the warning signs all along. It finally caught up with her, and ultimately this caused her death, bringing the investigators to face with patterns regarding ignored warnings of trauma and signs that could have prevented the devastating death of Lisa Lopes. Much of an icon were the TLC girls group, but of the 4 who stood out was Lisa Left Eye Lopes, who till today has made a lasting impact. Rest in peace, Lisa. For those who still remember Lisa Left Eye till today, what do you think about her tragic death? Do share your opinions below. Thanks for watching the video. We highly appreciate your support. This is not an AI channel, as every of the research is done thoroughly to keep delivering the best to our viewers. As always, see you in the next video.